Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Zachary, King Woman, Morning Star. So we have a YouTube video for this ready to go. Came out 4 years ago, at least the music video did, not sure about the original track. Let's dive in, see what King Woman has in store for us today.
Six strings in the daylight, do you know what it means? One moment I was just in the heights.
Okay, I wasn't expecting metal. Not only just bringing the energy down, but we also lost about 5 to 7 BPM. It's just a hair bit slower than it was too. Ooh, yeah, bringing the toms in, building a lot of energy with that. The ethereal vocals alongside the very full guitar tones, great combination of sounds. Okay. That's a solid exploration on dynamic control. We have two parts to this song and then an expansion on the second part. The first part of the song is a very clear 3 pulse, though there is If you wanted to, you could feel it in a much slower 4, but I think the 3 is dominant. It's what I felt from the very beginning. It's rather consistent throughout the track, though I do feel like there are parts of the song where the 4 becomes a little bit more in focus. Regardless, the entire song has a bit of a swayiness to it, a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, where you have this emphasis only a third of the time, and sort of a fluidity throughout the rest of the bar. We start the track off with light acoustic work and ethereal vocals. We move from there into a big, almost doom metal sound, very heavy, doom or post metal, whichever one you kind of want to go with that. It is on the slower side, but it's also more about the atmosphere than the riffage, so it can kind of fit on either side, I believe. Regardless, massive tone, massive size. The drums are on the slower side, very functional at the slower tempo. It's just big, heavy. It feels massive, a song that can't move quickly due to its size. The vocals get a little boost in volume to match this larger instrumentation, but otherwise don't change at all. And it creates a very cool contrast between the more ethereal vocal stack versus the large, massive physical elements in the drums and the guitars. We cut back down to a softer side, coming back to the verse, and we have drums in this section. We have bass in this section, a little bit more instrumentation here. I like the bass lick. The drums are rather functional though. And once again, we pull out of this back into the chorus. It is this pendulum swinging from lighter to heavier sounds. I think what I really enjoyed about the second chorus was it was extended twice as long as the first chorus, and the back half has all of this tom run going into it, digga 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 digga, and it creates this momentum that the tempo doesn't really have. It feels like we're building towards something, we're driving towards a direction, and it's not as quite heavy of a pace as the first chorus was. It feels like we've got momentum now. From here, though, we go into what I had mentioned was an extension of one of the parts, and this is an extension of the chorus. And we take this running tom idea, we ramp up the energy in it, the drums get a little louder, the guitars get a little louder, and we have this bum ch ch bum ch ch bum ch ch bum 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 bum, and this new melodic element comes in through the vocals, and this takes us through to the end of the track before we lighten things up just a little bit and repeat this new melody within a more empty soundscape. That's the entirety of the song from a compositional standpoint. There's very little change to it, very little alteration and even modification. A lot of it is on the production side of things, kicking in the overdrive and the distortion and the grit coming in on that chorus. What I find interesting about all of this is the vocals. With the guitars at the beginning, I wouldn't necessarily expect the vocals to be as they are. Very ethereal, very airy and light, but incredibly stacked too. I would wager there are probably about 3 vocal takes here that come together to create the one vocal line. It is larger and wider and louder than I would expect given how it sounds. It sounds like it should be thin, whispery, like a sonic veil, and instead it has a little bit of presence to it. But I honestly felt that when the guitar came in as big as it did, we were going to have a sonic shift on the vocals as well. And we don't really get that either, except in this case, I really like the schism between the sonic properties, with the band being massive, very wall of sound, all the instruments coming together with this low end, very physical, very stacked, very strong. The vocals still have presence due to the stack and the production, but it's still a light, ethereal tone. And I love the way that that contrasts with the rigidity in the music. I mean, even on the concept of rigidity, we have this feeling of this slow, methodical, weighty stomping. There is movement, or there's a destination. We do have progression in this song, but it's such a slow movement. As I mentioned, it felt like a being who just couldn't move really quickly due to the sheer scale of their body. Like a giant taking these long, massive steps. But there's this buildup towards the end of the track where there is this momentum to it. That's cool, but how did we get there? Why does that feel natural? It's actually because of this other, what is it called? A different style of music that comes into this. It's from the vocals. The vocals have this sway to them. Ba, 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 da, ba. And it feels very fluid in a way the rest of the music doesn't, which feels very harsh and aggressive. And I love how this comes together too. The song ends up feeling rather oil and water at times, constantly presenting two sounds that I wouldn't necessarily expect together that end up complementing each other rather well. I even talked about there in the verse that given the guitar tone, given the emptiness and spaciousness, I would have expected something a little more acoustic, less altered for the vocals, and we don't get that. The song is full of surprises. It also decides not to really have a traditional ending. The bridge that we get is a modification of the chorus. It builds the energy up to the end, but we don't return back to a verse or a chorus. We have an A, B, C. I don't even know if I could call it a C because it's more musically just a variation on the chorus. We kind of only have two parts to this song. And so we kind of get rid of the more traditional structure on this track too. Atmospherically, though, I think what I kind of get away from this is some sort of, I don't know, light power, if that makes sense. The thing with big, heavy tones is that they're very surface level strength. You know, when you think of a savage beast or a giant, something super muscular, that's what the chorus reminds me of. But the vocals are the opposite of that. They're ethereal, they're airy. They still have strength and character and presence to them, though. They're not completely ephemeral, but they're not on the surface an abrasive, strong sound. And I really like that combination there of kind of bringing these two ideas together. Could the guitars and drums be heavier, be meatier, be more wall of sound? Sure. But they're not. They're softened a little bit. Could the vocals be more present, more raw, more typical in their sound? Sure. But they're not. They're ethereal, yet have presence. They have a physicality to them. And it seems to be a way of taking these ideas and just kind of pulling them back down away from their extremes a little bit, trying to pull them closer to a more neutral sound without ever reaching that point of pure neutrality. And when I view it that way, I hear them as proportional descriptions that should be absorbed as one feeling. Heavy-handed, yet light and ethereal yet solid. All of this coming together to create a sense of light, ephemeral strength, a sort of vague sense of physicality. I don't know where I'm taking all of this. Honestly, it's how I feel about the song. Let me hit some lyrics and see if maybe they can back me up on this at all. Sometimes we get to the lyrics and I think, wow, I can't believe I got some of this nuance in the music. Today's not one of those days. What I was going on about of how I felt the production on these instruments to work together to tell, or at least to give a specific vibe, I don't believe is reflected in the lyrics at all. This is a song about the descent of Lucifer. It says, "The Lord saw what he made. It was good, dripping from pearly gates. I was luminous. My name is Lucifer. Pleased to meet you. I harp 6 strings in the daylight. Do you know what it means? Well, one moment I was ascending the heights, and the next thing I knew I was falling fast. Lightning hit my wings. I heard thunder crack. Pride had infected the depths of me. I loved these courts. I loved that royal family. You know it could have been you, so don't you dare judge the things that I do." Lucifer falling from the heights. That's what the song is about. The moment that Lucifer was cast from heaven and became Satan ruling over hell. The chorus simply states, "Am I far from God? Morning star." I don't know that I get elements of dissent in this music. I do get a schism, though, a division between two elements, and maybe where I was reading combined elements from the lighter ethereal side and the darker physical side. Maybe I should have seen them as opposites. I don't necessarily think the song leans into that, though, but it would create and explore this alluded to division between God and Lucifer, about who Lucifer felt he was and who he ended up being. But I can't say I have a strong understanding of how all of the themes come together on this. I suppose this is where I extend things out then. These are my thoughts on King Woman's Morning Star. What did you think of this track? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this? Please put any of that and anything else you'd like to add down into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.